episode 36 of The Comic Boot. I'm Kalen.
I'm Cody.
I'm James.
Today we're following our trend of not discussing superhero stuff by going with a movie that I think a lot of people might have forgotten about. But Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, based off the wildly successful graphic novel series by Brian Lee O'Malley.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts, gentlemen?
I think that unless you are a fan of one of the many, many great actors that appear in this film, or you are a fan of very artfully done film, Edgar Wright, obviously, produced and directed.
And helped write.
Well, the screenplay?
The screenplay.
Yeah, he helped write the screenplay.
But everything's based off Brian Lee O'Malley.
Yeah.
It's very stylized. If you're not a fan of 8-bit comic books, I don't think that you're going to really love this movie. But if you love kind of just off-the-wall, crazy movies that are based off of, comic books or even not even based off comic books. I mean, when I first watched this years ago, I didn't realize it was based off a comic book. And I just thought it was a movie that was based off of 8-bit video games. And, like, Gaiden Runner or something, whatever him and Knives play. I think that if you're not a fan of those things, I think that you're going to have a really hard time with this movie because you're going to not understand what the basis of this movie is, where its foundation is. But I think that as a fan of these things, I think that this is probably the only superhero that Michael Cera can ever pull off.
And certainly
fly,
not...
Robin, fly.
Definitely not Dick Grayson Robin.
Well, no, the voice of, but yeah, no, I think that him as Scott Pilgrim is absolutely perfect. I do. I'll stand by that. Because
I agree. I have to.
He's unassuming. He appears weak. He's scrawny. He's got zero self-confidence.
He still has a 12-year-old's voice.
He's broken from his ex-girlfriend, Brie Larson.
Captain Marvel.
Because
she's now banging the Atom.
Yeah, because he's vegan.
Milk and eggs, bitch.
I think that if you're not a fan of those things, you're going to have a hard time with this movie. But I love it because I like nerdy-ass shit. But
Same.
And I love Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
She was awesome.
Yeah.
When I watched this, I had no idea, what Scott Pilgrim vs. the World was. I didn't realize it was a comic until after I saw the movie. And it was a real turn-off for me because this was... This was 2012?
Look it up.
2010.
2010.
You have it in front of you?
Mm-hmm.
So this came out in 2010, and this was kind of during Michael Cera's big heyday after Superbad and everything, and I was not really...
This might have been before Superbad.
This was after.
Superbad was 2007, I believe.
Yeah, so Michael Cera, when he was first really introduced and people thought he was funny, I wasn't one of those people. I didn't think he was funny. I didn't watch this movie for a while because I thought, oh great, more of Michael Cera being Michael Cera. But then a friend recommended it to me, and I rented it one night, watched it, and the humor in this is just so perfect. I love it.
Kieran Culkin makes this movie.
Absolutely. Wallace. He steals the show as Wallace. And I love the scene where the phone rings and he answers it. He goes, oh, hey, Knives. He goes, Scott? Oh, I don't know. And he opens the door. He's like, you're here right now? And he opens the door. She's like, hi, is Scott here? And he goes,
Scott jumps out the window.
And he jumps out the window. He goes, he just left.
And then he reaches back in for his go.
Yeah. And she's like, oh, okay. Knives.
And he's running behind her.
Yeah. Such a good scene. And the thing at the bar, when the first Evil X shows up.
Oh, Patel?
Yeah. He's like, Matthew Patel. But when Crash and the Boys are playing.
Yeah.
Oh, when Kendrick's boyfriend is sitting there?
Yeah, he goes, is that girl a boy too? He's like, yes. And then this little Asian girl flips him the bird. It's so funny.
They have a girl drummer.
And then he's like, and then he heckles him again. He goes, it's not a race, guys.
Yeah, because it was just one song, one word, and one chord.
Yeah. And then he goes, this next song goes out for the guy who keeps yelling from the balcony. It's called We Hate You, Please Die. He's like, sweet, love this one.
Love this one. And he puts his hand on Anna Kendrick's boyfriend, and And after the fight with him,
With Matthew Patel,
Ramona looks to Anna Kendrick and she goes,
"Tell your gay friends I said bye."
She goes, "Gay friends," and they're making out.
And
then
she's
you see him in every
again?
scene, pretty much every like group sex. Yeah, it's fucking.
Yeah, because him and Scott
It's just
share a
fun.
bed.
I mean, but yeah, I think that if you don't know what this is based on, if you're not a fan of like those 8-bit video games where you have to build up, like where you fight certain levels moving up, you know.
Yeah, it's like classic
tower.
arcade games.
Yeah.
Like Double Dragon or Contra.
Yeah, and that's what the last scene kind of reminds me of. But after the first fight with Patel, Scott Pilgrim kind of figures out what the hell's going on. But Kieran Culkin is infatuated with this character. What's
Lucas Lee.
Lucas Lee. So
he has a crush on a hetero movie actor played by
Chris
Captain
Evans.
America.
Chris Evans, who I'm
Oh,
assuming
yeah,
is playing
he's
Chris Evans.
He's the next Evil X.
But
Yes.
the number on his car is the number 2.
Yes. It's throughout the scenery, you'll see the number. Like, Todd's very obvious because he has a 3 on his shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
And then-
the vegan guy?
Yeah, it's vegan. And then the next one, Roxy, when they go into the club's marquee, or in the giant window in front, like atop the door to get into the club, has a big ass 4.
See, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that about the 4. But then the twins, 5 and 6.
Yeah.
I still didn't notice that one either.
And there's a few I didn't like. I didn't see a 1. I didn't see 5 and 6, and I don't recall 7. I just
Because 7 was G or whatever.
Gideon.
I
remember seeing 2, 3, and 4.
But I know Scott is always 0.
Really?
Because he's the current boyfriend.
Yeah.
And so he's always referred to as 0.
Really?
Yep. That's why he wears a 0 shirt. And then Gideon always says, "You're a 0. You're never going to be anything."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's the kind of like the current, the 0.
Yeah.
So
if you haven't figured out by now, listeners, the main plot point of the movie becomes Scott having to fight Ramona's 7 evil exes who have formed a league, known as the League of Evil Exes.
formed by Gideon.
Formed by Gideon.
And it took him 2 hours
to get their contact information.
You'd have big of a waste of time. That is 2 hours.
And, well, I mean, it starts off...
Jonathan Silverman.
Jason
Schwartzman.
That's it.
And, it starts out with Scott is dating this high schooler, Knives, whose name is Knives Chau. And in the comic, because I've read the first 2 volumes, I'm currently going through the third one, and there's a dialogue, I think it's between Ramona and either Kim or Scott's sister.
Stacy?
Yeah, Stacy. And she's like, he was dating a girl named Knives Chau. She's like, really? She's like, yeah, you didn't think her name, or like, you didn't believe me, or you didn't think that was her name, or something like that. And Ramona was like, no, I believed you, I just didn't realize a guy would be dumb enough to date a girl named Knives. And just spells trouble.
God, and everybody always has sympathy for Knives.
Knives is the best. She got cheated on. It's not fair to her. She was so young and full of, like, vitality.
She's a 17-year-old.
That's why I said so young.
He's like 22.
Yes.
Don't blame him.
I totally blame him.
Nah, he's just stupid.
He should have broken up with her.
He should have. So through this movie, Kieran Culkin, who is Wallace, and
kind of his conscience almost in a
way.
way.
It is his conscience. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's
Voice
his
of
conscience.
reason.
Yeah. He lives with Wallace right across from his house, basically. And they have to share a bed all the time, which is great fucking scenes.
Right. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, so Scott and Wallace sleep on a mattress together.
And Wallace is gay and
has
his boyfriend.
Always a third guy.
Yeah, always. Or a
God,
fourth.
Scott, what is that?
Or a fourth,
he goes, no, other Scott.
He goes, what's wrong, Scott? And he pauses it. He's like, a dream. He's like, what's up, other Scott? Like, his boyfriend's name is Scott, too.
Yeah. So, Scott has a stream, and it's of Ramona. And so that kind of leads him down this path of kind of outgrowing Knives in a way. And playing video games, and she's not able to stay out after dark, and he's too old. I mean, he's too old for her. Why are you dating a high school girl if you're 22?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
I mean, I waited until mine was 18.
Still pass for a high schooler,
but he's 22 in the movie. That's the thing.
Well, yeah,
But I mean so it's a kind of him like growing up after having his heart broken the first time, and him growing up, dating him realizing by dating Knives that he is kind of more mature than that, but he's not. Because he fights for this girl.
Or he realizes that he wants something more. Like Knives was really just like a placeholder, because she wasn't really anything serious. It was nothing that he could get emotionally involved in after his huge breakup with Envy Adams. And then Ramona uses some kind of quantum highway or some shit that runs through his head.
Mind, yeah.
She's like, it's like 3 miles in 15 seconds. It's really convenient because she delivers packages for Amazon. So she's literally...
You don't know if she's serious because also, like in this movie, because it's so stylized, like random doors pop up and there are instant scene changes.
That's stuff that's taken right out of the pages of the comic.
Which is awesome.
They did a really... I mean, obviously, because it's 6 books, they had to cut out a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
But what Edgar Wright did was brilliant. When he just... So much of the dialogue, so much of the scenery, so much of the costumes is stuff that he pulled.
Well, there's a lot of dialogue in this movie, too. I mean, it's so quick. It's like watching a movie of Gilmore Girls. How quick, like, they deliver lines in Gilmore Girls.
It's rapid fire.
Yeah. It's sarcasm all the way through.
And his ex... The drum player, what's her name?
Kim.
Is fucking amazing, dude.
Allison Pill.
Yeah. Scott, if your life had a face, I would punch it. Ugh, I used that line so many times after I saw that movie. That character and the lines that she delivers are the punchlines to the movie, I think, there's a lot of them in a group. Yeah.
Because she is kind of that... The movie otherwise is relatively serious. If you take Allison Pill's lines out of it, you're not going to laugh nearly as much as you do through this movie.
I think I still would have. So much of it is hilarious, though. Like, they all have... Well, not all of them, but quite a few of the characters have comedic lines and comedic roles. Like Todd Ingram, Brandon Routh's character, he's a complete idiot. And he says some really funny shit.
But I'm not talking about, like, the fight scenes. I'm talking about, like, where Scott is in a scene with... a group of people where he's trying to contemplate the meaning of his life at this point in time. And then she kind of breaks that seriousness with a one little quip or a one-liner.
With a quip that just makes fun of Scott.
Yeah.
Or screaming, "We are sex bomb."
Yep. It's like, Scott, you are the salt of the earth. Thanks, Kim. I'm sorry, I meant scum.
Yeah. And
stuff like that.
Oh, and you're like, oh yeah, he kind of is right now.
Yeah, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah. But he's not. It's not his fault, man. I'm telling you.
It's a little bit his fault.
Nah, it's Ramona's fault.
It's his fault.
How is it Ramona's fault?
It's Scott's fault for not breaking it off with Knives, but it is Ramona's fault that...
She's so sexy.
I don't really know how it is Ramona's fault, to be honest, but...
Because it isn't. It's not Ramona's fault. He ordered a package from Amazon, then waited by the door for it to show up. And when it did...
It was Knives.
And when it did... it was Knives the first time.
But then he had a dream that she was showing up.
That she showed up at his house. And so he answers the door, and she's like, Scott Pilgrim? He's like, I was just going to ask you if we could hang out, but I realized that was kind of stupid. Is that stupid? She's like, yeah. It's like, she had no interest in this guy. And he kept, like... He's like, will you go out with me? Will you hang out with me? She says, if I say yes, will you sign for a damn package so I can get out of here?
He signs it and then throws it in the trash.
Yes. Actually, fun story. That thing where he throws it in the trash, that was him. It took 33 takes for him to
serious?
actually... Yeah. 33 takes of him to actually land the package.
Walter White throwing the pizza on the roof.
Yes.
Was Bryan Cranston, and he got that on the first take.
Holy shit,
Did
really?
he really?
Yeah.
Just fucking CGI it, man.
Oh, no, he wanted a real effect, so he didn't CGI it. That was actually...
It's Ripley in Alien Resurrection, the basketball shot that she makes in that movie.
Oh, was that actually her?
Sigourney Weaver on, like, the first try. It was totally on accident. She made it.
That's awesome.
They left it in. They're like, nope, that's great.
They're like, that's
So Michael Cera has no athletic.
No, because it took him 33
Although I will
tries.
say that the fight scenes that go on in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World are way better than Iron Fist.
They're more entertaining.
No, they're
for
better.
sure.
They're
No, they
better.
are.
They're shot better.
Yes.
They're edited better.
They're cleaner.
They're cleaner.
Because it's Edgar Wright, and that man literally...
He's a perfectionist.
I almost want to say that he could do no wrong, because there's not